Movsar Evloev thinks striking may be the key to finishing Aljamain Sterling. Movsar also said that he believes he is Ilia Topuria's worst nightmare.
You know, it's much easier to finish guy who have like less wrestling because I'm a wrestler, you know. But with the Alja, we'll see, maybe striking is the key for finish. But victory first, then we'll see what we can do. Good fighter, he beat like big legends, but you know, I respect what he have done, and I respect him. He's a great fighter, and we're not talking about his personality, right? But he beat big legends like Volkanovski, Max Holloway. But these legends was good at like some time. But when they already like get big damage, go down, and you beat them, I don't think that you beat that legends we was like looking at. So I'm the guy who is like the worst nightmare for this guy. So just let me go, step inside the cage.
Shavkat Rakhmonov thinks he is just the better fighter than Ian Garry. He discusses his past sparring sessions with Ian and says the fight will be much different.
Of course, happened a lot of things, but the main is that I got the fight and I'm ready for it. I'm ready to fight.
Okay.
Of course, I made adjustments because it will be a different opponent. He will be a striker. It will be like he's a good in a stand-up fight. Yeah, of course, we changed a lot of things in our game plan. Yeah, we trained in one gym in like same periods, but like we're not like friends. So I respect him as an opponent, and yeah, we will see. Yeah, of course, sparrings are different, and the fight is totally different. And we worked very carefully. We had a like very light work, so we'll see everything in the octagon. Who's better? Of course, everything will be shown in a fight, and I will do my best. I think I'm a better fighter. Yeah, of course, I think I'm a next one because when we talked to UFC, they said like you can wait for Bilal and fight for the title. But I told no, I'm ready to fight anyone now because I was training so hard. A lot of fans in my country waiting for my fight. So yeah, let's go. I fight right now and the next for the title.
Ciryl Gane says he was willing to fight Tom Aspinall back in March. He also gives his take on who would be the tougher matchup for Jon Jones between Alex Pereira and Tom Aspinall. Speaking to Ariel Helwani, Gane said, yeah, of course, for March, but it was not possible. He said I refused to fight him in September, but the UFC didn't propose me any contract with him for then. Like I've said, I'm looking for the best for me, and every time is in front of me, and this is exactly what he's doing now. Just looking in front of him. I didn't call him out on the social media, but the UFC knew this is a fight that we are looking for. On Jon Jones, Gane continued, every time we see for the fight against Stipe Miocic, everything was possible because Stipe is a really great fighter, really well-rounded, but he proved it another time. He's so dangerous. He's capable of changing. He can do anything he wants. So even if you have a guy really good in his striking or the wrestling, he can manage this. Maybe I'm going to say Tom because he's more well-rounded. When you have a guy like Alex Pereira, he's so dangerous on the striking, so everything is possible. It's too hard to have a good answer. Alexander Volkov discusses how he is approaching his rematch with Ciryl Gane. The two fought back in June of 2021, and Gane won via unanimous decision. Volkov says that he expects a similar version of Ciryl Gane with a little more confidence.
Me, for example, I had a lot of fights, not just in UFC and before the UFC and during all my career, and became a different fighter. I tried to grow up. I tried to, how I told before, like improve my skills. And this needs some time. You should be like really talented to change your style like in a few fights, like 1 or 2 or 3. But if we spoke about Ciryl Gane, is his like background with kickboxing, it's really hard for him to change his style. He usually use like the same things every fight. So for me, it will be like kind of this similar fighter that I fought like a few years ago. But for sure, he became more confident in UFC. For sure, he became more confident in like overall skills in like MMA. I understand that he trained a lot and trained everything. but it's need little bit for how I see the sport. It's need a little bit more time to be a well-rounded fighter. Fight, and not everything depends from the fighter. It's a lot of different random things in the fight can happen, and I just will enjoy the fight. I will go to octagon. I know a lot of people support me, like especially here in the US, in America, in Las Vegas. I have so many friends and teammates here, and so many people who support me in the US at all over the world. And I just want to do a great show for them. I have to be myself. I have to show all skills I showing on the gym. I will be myself. I will be technical, strong, with good cardio. Everything I have, I will put my best things in the fight.
Bryce Mitchell previews his upcoming fight against Kron Gracie this weekend. He says that he's not afraid to take the fight anywhere, despite most fighters being cautious of Kron's jiu-jitsu. Bryce says he's more hungry than ever and is going for the finish.
I think the fight's going to be everywhere. I mean, I think it's going to be a crazy fight. I'm not scared to go anywhere with him. And, you know, in those fights, even though he lost, to be honest, I was watching that Cub Swanson fight. Bro, he moved Cub around wherever he wanted. Yeah, Cub landed the better shots, but I'm just saying this, if the fight was in Walmart, Cub versus Kron, he walked his out the door, he walked his out the parking lot, he walked his past the gas station. I mean, he moved forward the whole fight. How can you say that he really lost the fight? He never got rocked, he never got tired, he never got wobbled, and Cub ran the whole time. And so I look at this guy, and Cub is like an elite striker. I mean, everybody puts respect on Cub's name. Nobody puts respect on Kron's name. So I don't give a shit what everybody says. This guy is good. He's tough. He takes a shot. He's not scared, and he moves forward. And even Cub Swanson had a hard time dealing with him. You know, look at the third round. Cub's punches wasn't doing much because he was a little bit fatigued. But Cub is a great fighter, and look how well he handled Cub. So that's my point, is that I don't give a shit. Nobody says this dude's legit, and I'm coming to prove that I can beat him.
Matt Brown gives his take on Aljamain Sterling being on the prelims for UFC 310. He says that he believes he probably feels demoted, especially considering he's a former world champion. On the fighter versus the writer, Brown said it's like this. I think fighters naturally look at it as almost a respect thing. What do the UFC think of us? When they put us on the main card, we think they think more of us. When they put us on the prelims, you feel like you're kind of demoted. In terms of the fans, and that's kind of the selling point that the UFC will say, well, if you're on the ESPN prelims, more people are going to watch than the pay-per-view, or something along those lines. I don't think that really does it for most fighters. It definitely never did it for me. I was on the prelims. I felt like I was being disrespected in a sense, or just demoted. I'm not a prelim guy. The biggest difference is when you're on the main card. There's more crowd there, and that's what we all want. We all want to be in front of more people, a louder crowd. I'm guessing every other fighter does. I feel way more comfortable in front of the biggest crowd than kind of scattered empty seats and people kind of cheering and going to get their beers and getting settled in, people walking in as you're fighting, things like that. Especially when you've got a guy like Chris Weidman, who's a former champion, Aljamain Sterling, who's a former champion. They feel like they're demoted. I guarantee, I feel that way when I'd get put on the prelims, like I'm demoted, like you don't care about me as much, like you think I'm on my way out. You're not moving me up the card towards the main event. That's where we all want to be. We want to be in the main event. What you feel like in your head, you're working your way up the card. Like the first fight on the card is the white belt, and the next fight is the blue and purple, and you want to be the black belt. Whether that's really true or not, I don't think the UFC actually looks at it that way. I don't think they're actually like, we're going to put you on the prelims because we don't like you, or you're not selling or whatever. I think there's a subconscious feeling in every fighter's head. Anytime someone's a former champion, you think they would get a main card spot just for being a former champion. The featured prelims, I've been featured prelims a few times, you don't feel like you're a main event. That's the kind of way they sell it. You're the featured prelim / main event of the prelims. No. I'll tell you what, ultimately you get paid the same, unless you're the main event and you get a bonus. These guys are getting fights. Movsar or Aljamain winning, this is going to be a big fight. You've got to put that in the back of your head, and you've got to go out and perform still. You've got to forget about all the bullshit. That's what I always said. Ray Longo previews Aljamain Sterling's fight against Movsar Evloev. Longo thinks the fight will actually stay on the feet because Movsar knows he needs to be cautious of Aljo's submission game.
Is this a question of two wrestlers canceling each other out with the takedowns, and it comes down to who the better striker is, or are we going to see a grappling match between these two?
Kenny, I'm not really sure, but I think it's going to play out a lot on the feet. I do believe that. I think the wrestling will cancel each other out, and not even cancel each other out. I think Movsar's smart enough to know he's got to be careful even taking Aljo down, because, Aljo does have a really good submission game. So that could freeze him up a little bit for the feet. And I think Aljo, with his footwork and his variety of strikes and his awkwardness with his hands and feet, I think could present a lot of problems to him. I think even Arnold Allen was doing pretty good in that fight.
Yeah.
I don't think that fight was a blowout by no means. Movsar had a couple of moments, but for the most part, that fight was pretty even, I thought.
And were you surprised, Ray, when they said that this fight was going to be a prelim?
100%.
Yeah.
What do you do about that? 100%. I mean,
Right.
If this fight is a title eliminator, should that be on the prelims? I mean, I think that's a sign of what the UFC thinks about both of these guys.
Islam Makhachev went off on Colby Covington. In an interview with Match TV, Islam said, "First, let's describe who Colby is. A man who can't prove anything with his fights, but tries to be well known with his mouth. This is what he does. He doesn't talk about fighters who are not in the top 15. He talks about fighters who have already achieved a lot to be well known. No, why should it bother me? It would be understandable if it were someone who is a good fighter. But when a person can't fight normally, but still talks about me, it doesn't bother me." Dana White has shut down the rumors of Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou being in the works. This rumor started when Turki Alashik said this on the Ariel Helwani show yesterday.
I have in the table 2 options for Francis in MMA and 1 in boxing I want to discuss with.
Can I ask you what those options are?
The MMA, we want to do the biggest things.
Would that be Jon Jones?
Has to be Jon Jones.
Beep.
Wow. I mean, if you can get that one done, that might be your greatest move of all. If you can figure out Francis versus Jon Jones, PFL versus UFC, I will eternally tip my cap to you. That would be the one if you ask me.
We need to send Dana White to the moon.
Dana responded via Instagram comment. He wrote, "Absolutely not true. Jon versus Tom." And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's from Chris Danks. It says, "Hill acting like Bisping ain't totally right for complaining after having his f***ing eye knocked out by a dude who was juiced to the gills. Meanwhile, he's crying about a guy who got kicked in the groin and knocked him out." The second one's from Melty Morty. It says, "Hamzat would ragdoll Ian." And the final one's from a Busty Banana. It says, "Ian Garry is the master of cringe." Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.